Hello, everyone. My name is Julie McVey, and this is Unordinary Made Ordinary, where we talk about extraordinary experiences of everyday people. And today we're talking with Daniel Berdichevsky. I forgot to ask you how to pronounce your last name.
Berdichevsky.
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 Ooh,
Yeah.
cool. Okay, welcome. I'm so glad
Thank you
you're
so
here.
much.
I really appreciate you being here to share your story. I'm very excited.
Thank you. I appreciate being here.
If you wouldn't mind, just before we get started, could you just share a little bit about yourself, maybe a little background?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
I was born in Russia. I grew up in New York City and in Arizona. And I have an interesting background mixed with a variety of different religions. And I've always been interested in spiritual subjects, paranormal subjects. And my interest was exponentially increased after my near-death experience. Um, and I am currently married with my son. He's about to turn 10 years old in a couple of weeks. And I live in San Diego, California.
Okay, very cool. Thank you for that. Okay, so I'm just really curious to hear your story and for everyone else to be able to hear your story. So when did this all begin?
The actual near-death experience. So it started with something that I feel was like the precursor to that event, which was this strange, unusual health condition that I was having. And it was related to my heart. So I had extremely high blood pressure and extreme anxiety. And I went to numerous doctors and I did a million different tests. And they could not figure out what it was because, like,
Hmm.
my EKG for my heart came back normal. But when they were checking my blood pressure, it was like 190 over 100 something, 200 sometimes. So it was
Ooh,
really dangerous levels.
yeah.
And they would put me on one blood pressure medication, which would work for a while. And then it would stop. Nothing. And then I would come back and the blood pressure would still be elevated. So
Hmm.
they put me on another, which would work for a while.
Hmm.
And then it
Mhm.
would stop. So I ended up, like, I mean, then getting a CT scan too, and all kinds of stuff. And it was true. I mean, it was truly an anomaly. I went to one of the best doctors in my area, which was a friend of my mom's, and it was truly a medical mystery.
Hmm.
So
How long ago
my,
was this?
I was 19, so right now I'm 33.
Wow, so
Yeah,
young to start. Mhm.
yeah, right, yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess 2007, about 2007, 2008, approximately. And my mom, being very religious, she decided that she wanted to attempt to heal me through, religious ritual or whatever.
Hmm.
She's Russian Orthodox.
How long
So,
did you go through the changes of medication and it wasn't working?
oh, this was going on at least between like 4 and 6 months. So it was a
Okay.
pretty prolonged period. Yeah.
Okay.
And
So
it was
mom,
agonizing.
mom does
Yeah.
a mom thing because she loves you and wants you to be
Yeah.
healed.
Yeah. She was
Beautiful.
really, really worried. Yeah. Really concerned, really worried. I wasn't feeling good. It wasn't just the blood pressure issue. I wasn't feeling well. I was
Oh.
feeling really nauseous and
Mm,
sick and just completely out of it and just like
mm.
barely able to function. And so it wasn't unusual for her in her religion to visit various monasteries,
Okay.
whether it be Greek monasteries or Russian Orthodox. It's kind of a
Mm.
common practice for those who are in the Orthodox faith to go for a week retreat to a monastery. And so she took me along, and my brother as well. And
Mm.
we stayed there for a few days.
Mm.
And that's basically where I had the experience, was in that Greek monastery. It was located in Northern California on the Oregon border. So it was called Etna, a Greek monastery. And yeah, so any questions before I get to the experience itself?
No, that's okay. I was kind of curious where you were living at this time. I mean, was it because you said Arizona and New York? Did she fly out over there?
No, no, no. Well, I moved back and forth all throughout my life. I was there and I was here, and between Arizona and New York and then California. And then finally, at this time, during this particular period, I
Mhm.
was in California because she moved from Arizona to California.
Gotcha.
But then
Okay.
after this experience, I moved back to New York again. But
Okay.
at this particular time, I was living in San Diego. Yeah.
Oh,
So that's what I meant by confusing upbringing, because I kept moving back and forth
okay.
multiple times. Yeah.
Okay. So she knew
Yeah.
about this monastery, obviously, trusted it
Yeah.
and them,
Yeah.
and takes you and your brother there. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. S-
Hmm.
So this is not as surprising for you. Your family has been there before, or at least two other monasteries.
Not to that particular one, but to other ones, yeah. So it's
Okay.
nothing unusual for us to do. Yeah, definitely not. So
Okay.
yeah. Hmm. Yeah, and one of the days that I was there, I was it was during morning prayer, I remember, or and I go in and I just kind of walk around the compound, and kind of later towards the afternoon, I started feeling kind of unwell again. So we
Mm,
had our own like little tiny rooms to sleep in,
mhm,
and I go into one of them just to take a daytime nap, basically. And the moment I laid down, like probably not even 5 minutes passed at all, and was not sleepy or sleeping yet whatsoever, wide awake. I suddenly find myself in a sensation, having the sensation of crawling out of my body, crawling out of, yeah,
Can I ask, you've been there a couple days already, and
yeah,
do they pray over you over those days? Have
yeah,
prayer sessions?
they
Okay.
have, yeah, they did
They were,
multiple times,
okay.
yes.
Okay.
Hmm.
So you're not feeling well. You're starting to feel like you're crawling out of your body?
Kind of weak. Yeah, kind of weak, kind of just,
Oh.
dizzy, weak, like I needed to rest basically. And
Mm,
yeah, so I was on the bed and I had the sensation of crawling out of my body, and it was very specific. I was crawling specifically through my chest. So
mm,
through kind of my heart area, and it literally felt like I was crawling, like kind of like this, that sort
mm,
of a sensation.
mhm,
And it felt like as soon as I pulled myself out, I found myself on the ceiling floating above.
mm,
But for what felt like absolutely forever, I did not know like what was going on and who I was looking at down below, which was, I don't know, probably 8 feet below me. It was relatively high. I'm looking at this person on a bed, and I'm like, I remember my arms being outstretched like this, and I had a sensation of being in a body. It felt just like a body, but it just felt kind of light.
As you're floating, you feel like you're
As
in a
I'm
body.
floating, yeah, I still
Mhm.
sense like, that I had arms, I had legs, it was all there.
Hmm.
And I'm looking down, and I'm like, just, it literally, I can't even put a time frame on it because my sensation of time was completely off. But I really felt like a really long time that I was staring at this body. So I started focusing my attention on other things, and I noticed I was able to like literally look through the wall and into the church across the way. And I saw the monks and the priests praying and doing liturgy. And not only was I able to see them, I was able to sense what they were feeling and feel their emotions, and just really deeply feel them as they were praying and doing these things.
Mm.
And I would kind of shift my consciousness back to the ceiling. And then after that, that's when I basically realized that was me on the bed. So that was my body. and kind of a moment basically of shock kind of came through, where I was just like kind of, whoa, that's me. And like pretty much the moment I realized that, I got like sucked out of the ceiling. Um,
Wow.
and I,
Okay. Had you never experienced an out of body or remember experiencing an out of body episode when growing up? Because you said you did believe in paranormal kinds of things, right?
yeah, I've always been I was especially interested in UFOs at the time and stuff like that. Really big into that.
Hmm.
Um, I'll tell you that, especially like at a really young age, around 5, 6 years old, I have
Okay.
really vivid memories of not actually like leaving my body necessarily, but having these really vivid experiences at night where I'm kind of like in this heavenly river, and I see this like river flowing, and I would always run up to it and drink from it.
Mm.
And it was the most amazing water in the universe. It was just absolutely fulfilling to drink it. And then I would just kind of come to, that would be like the closest thing I remember to having out of body experiences before that. But I've had vivid dreams and crazy stuff like that my whole life, though.
Oh,
So I've always been a really vivid dreamer.
uh-huh.
And since this experience, I've had other out of body experiences as well. So
Okay.
on
But
top of this
never
one, yeah.
you don't remember ever coming out of your body before this time, before this
Not that I
experience
could
here.
recall. Yeah,
Okay.
not that I
So
could
you're
recall. Yeah. Mhm.
clueless. You're clueless, of course, what's going on, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't totally unfamiliar with NDEs. I wasn't super into them either. I really liked Howard Storm's story at the time, which was a really big one, and a couple of other people maybe that I was into, but it wasn't something that I was nearly as into as like, I was the JFK assassination and UFOs and stuff like that. That was like my thing. Yeah. So yeah.
Okay, so you realize that's you down there, and then you're sucked up through the ceiling, or what? How did that feel?
Yeah, yeah. It felt like a vacuum cleaner.
Yeah.
I always say vacuum cleaner because I don't know how else to describe it. Like literally someone just like sucked me out of the ceiling, and it was a sensation that was like a crazy roller coaster. Like I could literally feel it like in my gut. Like I was just like moving extremely fast, like through space. Now it was basically in the atmosphere somewhere high above Earth, like very, very quickly.
Mm.
So, and that's when like the sequence of events started, when I would go above the Earth and stop in like specific places, basically, is what it seemed like. So, I mean, my first stop was above the West Coast. And I don't know how high above I was or anything like that, but it must have been several miles up. It was definitely higher than an airplane, I think. And I noticed fires everywhere. Wildfires absolutely everywhere. I was paying particular attention to those fires. I was really into them, and it was verifiably true that at that time there were thousands of lightning strikes in Northern California, and there were actually wildfires everywhere. So it was true. And I'm looking down, and then I focus my intention or my consciousness on a city, and the exact city I don't know, but I can only assume it was San Francisco based on how things look like and the hordes of people in the streets because it's such a busy place. And I'm just sort of looking around like various streets, but it's so basically I was up there and down there simultaneously. So my
Mm.
consciousness was able to observe both simultaneously. And even more than that, so I would project when I was on the surface level in the city, I would project my consciousness. It was kind of almost like tentacles where I would
Mm.
kind of merge with other people around me. And I would kind of focus on their consciousness for a brief moment and go to that person and just kind of, it was really interesting and fascinating and very
Wow.
hard to describe. Yeah. But And then, yeah, I kind of
That's that's just interesting. Being your consciousness is in several places at one time. You're aware
that's exactly what.
of all of the consciousnesses at the same time. And the
Hmm.
so interesting.
Yeah, it's an expansion of awareness that like
Mhm.
we can't like even comprehend, like being in human bodies. Like there's no comparison. It's almost like Superman, X-Men level type stuff. It was great. That's what it felt like. I was like able to do all this stuff. It was really cool.
Yeah.
And but then I kind of refocused back. I was back just looking at Northern California again, and I zoomed out again. This time I was able to see the entire Earth, and this is where I have some of the most trouble describing what I'm seeing because it is so hard to explain. It kind of looked like the Earth was breathing.
Mm.
So it was a
Mm.
living, like I could absolutely tell immediately that I was living, alive, conscious being.
Wow.
I knew that it was very aware of everything, very aware that I was looking at it. And I could almost like sense these like breathing sensations coming from it. And it was strange. The breathing felt labored, like it was struggling. So I mean, that's like the perception that I got from it. And there was just the way it looked, it was so strange. Like there was this crystalline like substance like covering the earth.
Mm.
Um, I don't know what it was. It kind of looked like technology, I guess. I
Mm.
have so much trouble explaining what it was, but
Mhm.
like the people, and I was still able to see people and all this stuff, and it kind of just sort of looked very simulator like, but
Oh,
it looked very organic at the same time. So it was like a blend between simulation and organic all in one. And on top of that, labored breathing that was
okay.
coming from the
Wow.
earth. So, yeah, like I said, hard to explain.
That's, yeah, I
Yeah,
know. I wish I wish there was an artist that can like just draw it out for you, paint it out. That would be awesome.
that would be great. I would absolutely love to see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, it
It
was a
sounds
little
very
bit,
interesting and beautiful, like a beautiful piece of artwork that you described.
yeah, it was very beautiful. It was incredible. And it was just almost kind of exalting, like this exalted like creation feeling that I was sensing.
Mm.
But at the same time, I was also feeling something like something distressing at the same time, like
Mm.
something
Mm.
wasn't quite right too. I don't know if it was related, it was probably related to labored breathing or something. So, but yeah, after that, I zoomed out again and saw the entirety of the galaxy. And then I saw what appeared to be the entire universe, and it was enveloped by this white mist,
Mm.
this white cloud, and there were these golden sparkles kind of flying in every direction inside this white cloud, and it was really beautiful. It was almost like adorable looking, like these sparkles everywhere. And my consciousness was, it almost felt like I was facing like downward this entire time. So I was looking down at the earth. I was looking down at the galaxy. Like even though I was able to see all around me,
Mm.
um, but my most of my intention was focused this direction or whatever was a direction. I don't know. But when the white mist turned into the golden sparkles, it turned into the golden light, in which point I was in this upright position facing the golden light. And the
Oh.
moment that happens, any sensation of having a body just disappeared.
Ooh.
Yeah, no sensation of a body anymore. I was at that point pure consciousness, or what I call like an orb, like a ball of energy, basically, is what I felt like. And I was able to see my color, which was this dark blue.
Ooh.
And in that sphere, in that white mist, there were just countless other orbs that were also multicolored. I saw yellow, violet, white orbs, blue orbs, red, just kind of all floating around in this space. So I end up just observing this golden light. And the golden light, immediately I knew for all eternity that that love from the golden light will never change. It's always been the same, and it will never change, no matter what. So at that moment, I knew I would always be loved the same for all eternity. And that love, people have described this in many NDEs before, but the way I like to say it is all the love that ever was and ever will be just poured on to you like a waterfall. That's the
Wow.
closest analogy in human words that I can convey. So your entire eternal existence loved the same way, no matter what. And that
Wow.
was awesome. There's no judgment. I was not judged at all. There's zero judgment about anything. Just loved, pure love, and that's it.
Mm.
And it was indescribable bliss that I was feeling. So it was amazing. And this is where things get a
Now, this whole
this is
time you
where
don't
things
know that you've died. You don't do you think about Daniel at all back in the bed?
good question. I'm glad you brought that up because the way I say it is it felt like that this experience here was something so distant, something that happened eons ago, like when I was in that sphere. It
Wow.
felt like something that was just so far away and irrelevant to what's going on now,
Hmm.
like a little tiny glitch of an experience compared to the totality of who I am. And it was an awesome sensation. So I didn't really feel connected to that. I still felt like me in a way, but not the character. It's really hard to describe because I still really felt like an individual, like I was my own soul, but I didn't really feel connected to what I was experiencing here at all. Like it felt really distant. So, um, yeah, and the golden light spoke to me, and this is something that bothers me to this day. Is I don't remember what it said. I remember everything else in crystal clear detail. The clearest memory of my entire life, actually. Uh,
Wow.
best memory I've ever had about anything. And then I was specifically there. There can't be any other reason. Like it's almost like I'm not supposed to remember. But there was other stuff that happened too. So another blue orb approached me. Um, this blue orb, I immediately knew. I'm not entirely sure if I'm familiar with it on this plane of existence, but I was observing the soul and I knew that I knew the soul forever. And it was like a close friend that I haven't seen in a long time. That sort of, imagine you haven't seen a friend in 20 years and they live in another country or whatever, and you go fly to them. Imagine that sensation except multiplied by 500 million times. That's pretty much pretty much how it felt like. Um, and he came and showed me this wheel, sort of kind of like a wheel of time. This is another thing that's really hard to describe. I could tell that this was specifically related to the earth, and this was specifically related to, earth as a creation and it having, no point of reference, meaning there was no past or future in this wheel of time that I was seeing. I was seeing all the events of the earth playing out simultaneously within this sphere. So it wasn't something where you could necessarily pick one thing or the other. And I did, though. I did, but it almost felt like it wasn't necessarily because I was able to see it all at once. But I did pick things from that wheel. I was
Mm.
looking at different epochs in history, or what at least seemed like different epochs in history. Really clearly remember seeing chariots and things that look like gladiators in colosseums and ancient Rome, possibly things that look like ancient Greece, uh, maybe perhaps medieval times. I saw, you know, knights on horseback and kings in castles and all these things. And then I saw future things, but
Mm.
another thing that I didn't, that was specifically wiped from my memory which is odd because later on, I've had really vivid out of body experiences and dreams of other potential future events that I feel are possible future events. But
Mm.
in that moment, I feel like I was deliberately, was blocked from my memory. But I do remember the ancient past and other things leading up to that. And I just remember it feeling so, it was just what it was like, like everything felt so, I don't know the right word. I wish I had the right word for this. Like insignificant. I know that's a harsh word. That's not a good word to use, but compared to the totality of all existence, it was just this little place with these little kings doing their little battles and wars and blah blah
Mm.
blah. And it almost felt like, oh, okay, it's just part of creation type of thing.
So was that why you were given that um, image? Or why do what do you think was the purpose of showing you that when you, because when you come back, you would have a more well-rounded perspective, or what do you
That
think?
is a good question that I've been trying to figure out for many years why I was shown that.
Hmm.
Um, but I have various theories as to possibilities as to why. Um, one of them being that since it was all simultaneous, all the events of the earth, I'm kind of maybe possibly coming to the conclusion that creation, that it itself is just eternal. Our experience health here has always been creation, not just God being eternal, but actually creation itself being eternal and always having existed. So I think that's possibly one meaning of that. And then I have sort of been obsessing with future events as well. So that could be another, not obsessing, the strong word, but I've been interested in that, trying to kind of see where we're going and things like that. And that could be related to that. I mean, I don't know. I wish I had a clear answer as to why I was shown that. It made sense at the time when I was there. Like it all just made sense immediately. But when I'm back here, things just become a lot more cloudy. So, and harder to answer. Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so then what happens after you're shown this and you realize these beings are just kind
Mhm.
of playing out their play, so to speak,
Kind of felt like a play. Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. Yeah.
in a
Uh-huh.
way, and then you're one of those characters, or you had been.
Yeah. 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 And like one specific thing that I remember is just like, I always go back to Carl Sagan because he was right on. He was absolutely right on when he did. I don't know if you ever saw it where he did his speech about this little blue ball and all these big kings and queens and everything like that, thinking they're important. Because I was seeing these sort of kings and queens too, and they really sort of didn't feel like they exalt themselves to such a level, but they didn't feel very important at that particular moment for whatever
Mm,
reason. It just all felt like one thing. Like there was no separation between anything. There
mm,
was no better or worse. There was no more important person or less important person. It was all just this one thing, this one wheel of
mm.
time, and it was
Interesting.
all one. Yeah. So after that, I sort of got into an argument with the Golden Light. Um, again, because I don't remember, exact words, but I remember, wanting to stay basically. Definitely remember that sensation of not wanting to leave because I was in a state of absolute pure consciousness. I was in pure bliss. I was a very, it was almost like a perfect feeling. I don't know how to explain it. It was order of magnitudes better than here that is just incomprehensible. Like there's no comparison. And it kind of just pushed me back. Like I'm just like, hey, and it just like
Mm,
pushed me back, and everything was like in reverse. I saw like the sequence of
mm.
everything in reverse, where
Oh,
saw the galaxy
rewind.
and it was like a rewind. So I see this wheel of time, and then like basically I was wheeled back here, right? So and I slammed back into my body, and that was excruciatingly painful. I compare it to a sledgehammer to my chest,
Mm.
because that's what it felt like. I couldn't breathe. Like I came to, I couldn't breathe. I
Mm.
For like at least the first like 5-10 minutes, I had to, like, I was just really, really out of it. I walked up to a mirror. I looked at myself. I'm like, oh my God, I'm as pale as a ghost, because I was white. And that was basically it.
Well, I wonder if you
And
had been without oxygen for, I don't know, a minute or whatever it is.
yeah, one thing
Um,
I forgot to mention was that I actually felt the sensation of my heart stopping when I was crawling out of my body. Like I felt the last beat.
mm,
So this is how I knew that I died, which was just incredible. So maybe my heart stopped beating, and I
true.
came to, and it started, beating again really hard.
Yes.
Yeah.
How long did that experience seem like in our life terms?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Um, how long?
I mean, it could have been a minute in real life,
Yeah, it could have. Yeah.
but what did it
Hmm.
feel like?
It felt like, if I were to give a number to it, 5 years.
Wow,
Yeah, probably about, like, that's like the closest. It felt like a
that's
really long time.
incredible.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Incredible.
yeah. So,
So you're only
yeah.
19. I mean, what did you think after that? Did you say, Mom, Mom, and tell your brother and mom?
Well, first of all, the problem went away like a couple weeks later. My blood pressure was back to normal. Like, I went back to the
Wow.
doctor, and I never took the
Mm,
pills again. So, so
that's
everything was back
awesome.
to normal. But yeah, of course, I was really troubled by the experience at first,
Mm.
obsessively thinking about it every day. I still think about it almost every day, but
Did you
it was
know it was a
something.
near-death experience though at that time?
Yeah, well,
Oh, you did.
I would describe. I felt like I died. I don't know if I called it that at the time, but I know that I died, and I went. That's what I said. I said I died and went to heaven.
Mm,
That's the first person I told was my mom and brother, and that's how I described it to them. And yeah, thankfully, they were into it. They're really into it and supportive and
good.
everything. But a lot of other people weren't later on. But
Mm.
that's yeah, that's their belief, and whatever, that's how it is. But it was
Well,
troubling. It was definitely pretty rough the first few years after that, I would say.
really,
Yeah.
why?
Yeah.
Because you wanted to go back?
Yeah.
Mm.
That's the most basic reason, because I wanted to go back. I didn't want to be here. Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's amazing. And then you started, how soon after that did you start having out of body experiences, or did you start practicing that meditation and trying to do that?
I didn't really start practicing. I did start meditating and stuff like that only like in 2015, so
Oh,
quite a few years later.
yeah.
Um, and that's approximately the time when I started having really vivid, crazy dreams, and numerous other out of body experiences as well.
Hmm.
Um, and on top of that, a few years after the heavenly experience, I actually had I had a distressing out of body. My first out of body experience after that was the opposite. It was very hellish.
Oh,
So,
I wonder
yeah.
why. Any theories? No, don't know.
Um, I don't know. Probably because
Going through a bad
I was
time in
kind
your
of in a
life,
negative
or
space.
Mhm.
Yeah, there were definitely things happening. Definitely a wild time, a crazy time, and on top of that, my obsession with kind of selfishly wanting to go back, as the way I see it,
Mm.
sort of brought me to that point. But that would be a whole nother, like, to go get in. That was also a long experience. That would be like an entire other video I would have to get
Wow.
into.
Okay, we
Yeah,
can do another one. We can
yeah.
do another
And I
video
also,
and
Yeah, I also have it on my channel as well. It's one of my most viewed videos. So
Ooh,
yeah,
okay. Yeah,
yeah,
I'll go check it out. And then, I mean, anytime, yeah, you want to come back and share any out of body experiences, because that's another thing, of course, that I'm fascinated in and that we,
yeah.
talk about on the channel.
Very,
So,
yeah, definitely.
so how long after your near-death experience did you have your first out of body experience, would you say?
Uh, I would say around that time, or 2015,
Oh,
2016.
so it was all the way into 2015. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So aside from the hellish one, I just had some vivid dreams here and there, but it really kind
Okay.
of started kicking off, or like really, like those years, like 2015 to 2017, I had a lot of crazy dreams, and all the way up until now, I had a crazy dream last night. So this is frequent. This is something that's common for me now.
Wow,
Yeah.
interesting. Are you learning from these experiences
Yes,
about
I
yourself
believe
and life?
about myself, and the way I see dreams as I see many dreams as you projecting your consciousness onto another avatar of yourself in another dimension or reality or
Hmm.
galaxy world. I don't necessarily think that it's all the creation of your subconscious, or it's all necessarily related to things that you manifest here. I think that, if our soul is a infinite tapestry, you're tapping into other aspects of self and other realities, basically. And
Would you call that
I mean, that's
parallel or alternate realities? Is that what you're feeling
yeah,
is going on?
yeah. And yeah, all with their own unique frequencies and their unique sort of ways. Like, for example, like there's things that people see in dreams that they would define as completely absurd and ludicrous,
Hmm.
and that wouldn't make sense in our realm. But if you kind of shift your perspective and go inside, if that realm were to exist, and what if that version of you in that realm sees this as absurd and ludicrous what you're experiencing here?
True.
Yeah. So it's all like a matter of perspective, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So
true. That's a good point. So what are your
yeah.
feelings about death now? Have they
Oh,
changed?
well, I'm looking I'm looking forward to it, basically. Like, I'm happy. I mean, not the actual process necessarily. That definitely might be kind of rough for many people, but what comes after, yes, definitely. I don't fear it. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
Do you think you can tap in to the afterlife as well as other alternate realities, like take your consciousness? Can a person learn to meditate or learn to have an out of body experience or move their consciousness to the afterlife? Do you think?
Yeah. I don't see why not. Yeah. I mean, anything's possible. I mean, as long as, I mean, people are really tied down by, certain rigid ways of believing. If they're willing to open up a little bit and just realize that existence is eternal, then the potential is infinite, basically, to what they can
Mhm.
do with their consciousness, I feel. Yeah.
Have you met your guide again or any other guides since your near-death experience or that friend?
Um, I might have possibly seen them in dreams,
Hmm.
but not that I could recall a direct meeting, no. Possibly had maybe some interaction and some meditations and prayers and things like that. But to say that I had that same sort of sense of being right there with them, not
Hmm.
necessarily, no. Yeah. Mm.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I would,
Mm.
yeah, I would think I'd want to try to meet that guide again or another one. And what about lost loved ones? Have you been able to connect with any loved ones who've passed on? What are your thoughts about that?
Yes, I've tried. I've wanted to. I've tried. So over the last years, my grandparents have recently passed away, and as well as my
Hmm.
one of my stepdads. But
Hmm.
he he did appear in a couple of dreams, some
Okay.
kind of interesting dreams. Um, where we're actually kind of in the, I remember seeing him in a misty like place that kind of reminded me of that realm, the white mist. It was a very similar white mist.
Mm,
I remember seeing him in this really elaborate tuxedo,
wow.
really dressed well and things like that. Yeah. And he was in a wheelchair and he couldn't walk. And I
Mhm.
remember seeing him being able to walk just fine. And it was really cool to see.
Ma-
Um,
Yeah, many believe the dream visitations, they're not really dreams, they're actual visitations from their loved ones.
yeah, 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 maybe. And then my grandpa, I saw him in a couple of really odd dreams. And then I've also been seeing something really weird that might possibly be a visitation. I don't know though. I can't verify what it is, but I might as well say it because it's really strange. So over the last like 2 years or so, since around the time both my grandparents passed away, I've been seeing this really large, massive white owl, like pretty much
Oh,
everywhere I go.
uh-huh.
It looks like in Southern California we have a variety of different owls, but this owl is absolutely enormous. And
Mm.
when I say I see it everywhere, I saw it right here in my front door, fly by, look me right in the eye. I saw it
Ah,
all over San Diego County. I drive all over the place, so I see it 40 miles away. I saw it there, and it looks like the exact same owl. I see it
wow.
where I work. And I kind of maybe possibly can interpret that as a, maybe it's the guide that it could possibly be the guide.
Hmm.
I don't think I don't think it's a physical owl though, because of its massive proportions and just,
So interesting.
and it's white. It's like really, really white. So
Okay.
though the owls, I see normal owls here,
Hmm.
and they're usually kind of small, kind of brown, and they look nothing like this one. So
Okay, this is like you're looking into the non-physical, like you're able to see a little bit of the non-physicals now
I,
that
I,
you,
I think possibly, yeah. I just don't know what the owl represents or what it could mean or why it's appearing. I still am yet to figure that out, though. I just wanted to throw it out there because it could possibly be one of my grandparents. I don't know. So,
right, right. So I wonder if you've brought back some with your near-death experience or with your meditation that you've been doing, these increasing dreams, et cetera, if you're sort of developing maybe an ability, a clairvoyant or, type of ability, one of those many clairs that people can, they seem to develop sometimes after this kind of experience.
possibly, yeah. I mean, I definitely feel more in tune with things and more kind of connected. I feel like my consciousness is basically expanding, my awareness, and kind of going deeper within as well, trying to,
Hmm.
it's a growing process, basically. Uh, yeah, there's growing pains involved too, for sure. So,
Do you feel like
yeah.
you have a better understanding of your purpose now, maybe, that helped you with that? I wonder to myself if the light was telling you things that you would have to come back and do or your purpose, and that's why you're not remembering, maybe? I don't know, because you're not meant to remember
I
right
like
now.
that. I like that. I like that a lot. Possibly, yeah. As far as a purpose, possibly, I kind of feel like I'm a soul wanderer, like a traveler, like I just sort of incarnate to experience
Mm,
consciousness and just to observe the conscious. That's what I feel. I'm not
hmm.
saying that's necessarily true, but because of these dreams and stuff like that, I have a real fascination with a variety of different types of consciousness. So
Hmm.
different frequencies and things like that. So
Hmm.
I would say one of my purposes here is definitely just to be an observer and to see how it plays out, basically.
Hmm. Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that.
Hmm.
So cool. We're running out of time, and before we do, I would love for the listeners to be able to connect with you. Is there a way for them to do that?
Sure, definitely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And I'll put the
Well, I
links in
mean,
the video description too. But for those who
yeah,
are listening,
you're more than welcome to email me at metaldan33@yahoo.com.
okay.
Or you could check out my YouTube channel called Dreams and the Cosmic Trip.
Cool.
Yeah. So you could just go in the comments. I always reply to everybody, and if you want to say something, I'll be right there. So
So
yeah,
cool. Thank you. And any last words? I want to make sure that you get to share whatever is on your heart. I really appreciate all that you have shared. It's so inspiring and
thank you,
fascinating.
thank you. I appreciate it. That really makes me happy. Thank you. Yeah, the main thing that I always want to say is that don't forget that you're always loved, and you will
Mm,
always be loved, and you're always valuable, and you're always cherished, and that you are worthy, and that you are worth it,
mm.
and that God will always love you. That is the most important thing. So people who are hard on themselves, people who are down, realize that. Just remember that you're loved and you are valuable. So infinitely valuable, in fact. So yeah,
Oh,
to me, that's the most important thing. Yeah.
wow. Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. That brings me hope personally, and I hope it does for everyone else. So I love that
Yeah.
message.
Yeah.
Thank you to
Mm.
Daniel for being here with us and sharing his amazing experience. Um, Thank you to everyone watching. This has been Julie McVey with Unordinary Made Ordinary, and I hope you'll join us next time for another fascinating interview. If you enjoyed this, please give it a thumbs up. And of course, if you like this type of content, subscribe, hit the bell icon so you're alerted to future videos. And I hope you're having a fantastic day or evening wherever you are on the planet or off the planet. And we will see you next time. Bye.